Alright, before we get to the proper Let's Play, I wanted to make a little tutorial video. So for those of you who are completely unfamiliar with the game mechanics, this is for you guys. Assuming you guys don't know anything about Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG or anything about this game, I'm going to be very condescending and just assume that you don't know anything about it and start with the absolute basics. So this is in Custom Duel, which is a option on the main menu, allows us to basically fight ourselves. And it's really good for grinding off of yourself to get multiple copies of the same card. So we first draw our hand of 5 cards here. There are 3 basic types of cards in the game. There are monsters, spells, and traps. And there are special sub-varieties of each one of those cards. So these are regular normal monsters. They are used to do combat with your enemy and decrease their life points. That's the objective of the game. You decrease your opponent's life points through battle damage, either from a direct attack to their deck leader, or through the difference in monsters' attack points during battle. So looking at this monster right here, you can see that he has a type, an attribute, attack points, and defense points. He also has a summoning level and a deck cost. The attack points are obviously for doing battle against the opponent's monster, and the defense points are if you change his battle position to defense position, which I'll go into here in a second. And the attribute is contextual to power-ups, which I'll go over here in a minute, and one other feature. And his type is contextual to the terrain. The deck cost is how much space, basically how much space he takes up in your deck, because you have to have less space in your deck than, you have to have less deck cost than the opponent that you're challenging in the campaign, which, if you guys are watching this before the first 2 videos, know that I have made this after the first 2 videos, so I may repeat myself on some of these things, but I just wanted to go over the basics. If you guys have already started the Let's Play proper, you don't probably need to know any of this. So at the start of the duel, you start with 5 cards and a 4 stars in your hand. So I can play this 4-star monster, no problem, and but every turn I will only regenerate 3 of those stars. So I can't play another 4-star monster or higher without waiting a couple of turns to replenish them. So my opponent, I'll explain what my opponent just did here. My opponent did something wacky. So every card can only move 1 space per turn. This is my summoning area around my deck leader. I can put a card in any one of these spaces. Your deck leader can move 1 space per turn as well. But monsters can move more than 1 space if they're face up on a favorable terrain, which Actuator is. He's a warrior type monster, so he gains a terrain advantage here, which means he not only gains 500 points, but he also gains the ability to move 2 spaces if I were to flip him up. I'm going to look at my opponent's graveyard here. I think I know what that is, and I'm not especially worried about it, and I'll explain why. So, here's a magic card, and this magic card is in effect that when you flip it up and activate it, the effect happens and it simply dissipates. And this one is going to change the terrain around us into meadow terrain, which would be favorable if I didn't already pick a map with meadow terrain on it, so we don't really need to change it anyway. And you'll be seeing that in the Let's Play proper as well. So, the third type is traps, and I don't have many traps in here. I'll explain when if I draw one, but they have proximity effects that trigger when monsters come near them, or if certain action has happened. There are permanent traps, and there are temporary traps that are disposable that dissipate as soon as the effect is resolved, but permanent traps will activate again every single time that contextual effect is triggered. Monsters can also have effects like this. They either have contextual effects, and you'll be able to tell if it's an effect monster or not. I'm sure I'll draw one here pretty soon. But effect monsters, their effects either are natural effects that activate as soon as they hit the board, or contextual effects that activate upon flipping them face up, or under certain conditions like when they engage in battle, or once per turn. So I'm actually going to go ahead and do battle with this monster right here. I'm going to flip him up and move him 2 spaces into it, because I'm pretty sure I know what it is, and I'll explain why. Yep, sure enough, I was right. So thankfully we're more powerful here. My opponent takes 100 points of damage, and we move forward. So, what you can do, because you will only draw 5 cards per turn, you can only play 1 card per turn. You may be thinking, well, I'm not going to draw my stuff very quickly then if I'm only playing 1 card per turn, but you'll only ever have exactly 5 cards in your hand, which means if you can actually select a card and then select another card, you can combo them together, and this allows you to make a fusion monster. And the types of fusions you can make are contextual based on the types of monsters that you're fusing, and sometimes it's even more specific than that. I don't think I'll be able to make a fusion with these two, but what the heck. Ah, actually, here we go. I am actually able to show it off on screen. So I fused a warrior and a zombie, and I made an armored zombie, which does not get any kind of terrain advantage right here or anything like that, but he's got decent attack, I suppose. A lot of these zombie monsters have 0 defense, though. So the context for some of these fusions is very specific, too. Like, what he did is he fused a zombie and a rock monster together and made Stone Ghost. And then he fused that Stone Ghost with a female monster, and yes, the game recognizes that it's a female monster, and was able to make Mystical Sand. That's how Mystical Sand is made, is with a rock monster and a female monster. It's under 2100 attack, of course, because it was more powerful than the card you're trying to make. You wouldn't want to accidentally fuse into it if you were just trying to mill your hand. But even if you can't create a fusion, it's a good idea to mill your hand so you're drawing the cards that you actually want to get to, if these cards in my hand are not going to be very good right now. And obviously in your starter deck you're not going to start with the best cards. So that's a good way to get to what you need to get that's a good way to get what you need to get. If that makes any sense. That was quite the ramble there, wasn't it? So I have another magic card I can activate here. I might as well here. This is another temporary effect that just dissipates. There's no such thing as a permanent magic card really in this game. There's 2 different other types of magic cards, though. There are power-ups, which just increase the a compatible monster's points, which I'll be explaining what kinds of monsters are compatible and which ones are not. And then there's a ritual, which allows us to tribute specific monsters to summon a more powerful monster. And I'll hopefully be demonstrating that eventually. So he just milled a bunch of cards right here and didn't make any kind of fusion. The AI tends to do that on these custom games for some reason. Ooh, he summoned something more powerful than us. That's alright, we'll come back from that. Okay, so I should be able to make a fusion here. Unfortunately, that fusion is going to have the same stats as what we're up against here, the Battle Steer. So that's not good, although I suppose I might as well move him in anyway to give my opponent's deck leader a run for his money. So if you fused a warrior and a pyro together, and those monsters have less than 1100 attack, you'll make this guy. But because if they have over 1100 attack, or you're using this guy, you can make Flame Swordsman. So you kind of have to know what it is that you're going to make before you attempt a fusion. And Flame Swordsman is an effect monster, so I'm going to show you what his effect is. His effect activates when he's engaged in battle. And when he's engaged in battle with a dinosaur monster, he gains 300 attack points. So that's pretty nice. I don't know if my opponent's going to have any kind of dinosaurs that he's going to fight with. Oh well. So, hopefully I get to demonstrate this here. No. That's the opposite of what I thought it was. The attributes have another game mechanic. There's another feature to them, is that if a monster battles another monster with the opposite attribute, that monster will be spellbound for a turn, which is a status ailment that prevents a monster from moving or changing its battle position. So, let me see, can I make any kind of... I might be able to make something... what the heck, I'll give it a try. I usually know when I'm able to make it when I'm not. I think I can make something with this, though. Nope. Okay, I was wrong again. I was wrong twice in a row. That's pretty bad. I'm going to actually attack his deck leader directly here. Because his deck leader has moved on to that forest terrain here, Flame Swordsman no longer gains any attack bonus. But he doesn't move over the deck leader, so he's still in the meadow right now, which means Battle Steer can't kill him. Or Battle Steer refuses to suicide into him, at least. I just drew another effect monster there, a very good effect monster called Swordsman from a Foreign Land, which does not have very good stats, but he has the ability to... Ooh, I'm worried about whatever that could be. He just powered that up. Oh, that's not good at all. He equipped his most powerful monster with a power-up, and it got spellbound. Alright, so it's stuck there for a turn. I may actually be able to beat him if I can move a card in quickly enough and attack him directly. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Yeah, Swordsman from a Foreign Land has an ability that activates when he is destroyed in battle, and he destroys the monster that attacks him. So that's pretty good. I actually might put that right here in hopes the Battle Steer will run into him, and that way I'll be able to I'll still be able to move a monster and attack him directly, because Emperor's Judge will still be spellbound for a turn. So let me look again at the graveyard at the power-up that he used on Legendary Sword, which is only compatible with warrior-type monsters that either have a light or earth attribute. So that's how you can tell if a monster is compatible. I was worried he was going to do that. I don't care what he makes. If he attacks that winged dragon, it's fine. I'll just try to go for game next turn here. Alright, Battlesteer is dead. Alright, that's how that effect works. It's pretty good, especially if your opponent has a rampant boss monster on the loose that you can't seem to get around. Okay. So this might be my only shot at this. Unfortunately, I'm not going to deal game-winning damage here with this, but I'm just going to go for it. He only have 400 life points left after this, so it will be worth it. There's really no way I can destroy that Emperor's Judge unless I were to have my own Emperor's Judge with the same equipment on it, because that's pretty powerful. Whatever it is that he's moving towards my deck leader cannot gain a terrain advantage because he would have done it by now. So it's probably something pretty weak, and if I can get a good monster over here, then I might be able to turn this around. Let me put something as kind of a bait here so I can reveal what that is. Obviously we're putting him in defense mode because he doesn't stand a chance here. So now that I've demonstrated what defense mode is, it uses your movement, so you can't move that monster after you've put a monster in defense mode. But it means if your defense points are going to be put up against the attacking monster's attack points. Also, you won't take any battle damage as a result. Alright, maybe we can attack this thing and go for game then, hopefully. Alright, Battlesteer, that's a pretty powerful monster. Won't get any terrain advantage over here. Oh, that was not even a monster, it was a spell. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'm probably not going to be able to destroy that Emperor's Judge, so I've got to find another way around it in order to beat him. This is still pretty early on. I'm recording this while I'm basically grinding up against myself, or not literally grinding up against myself, that's impossible, but grinding against my own deck, metaphorically speaking, to win some multiple copies of the same cards. Yeah, still am not getting anything good here. If I can... it'd still be too powerful. I was going to say, if I could encourage Emperor's Judge to go in the forest, it wouldn't gain its terrain advantage, but it would still have 2,600, which is still more than Battlesteer. Well, let's just hope he doesn't do that. I may be able to lure him away from my deck leader, actually. Let's put some defenses up, which will prevent her from moving 2 spaces, and we can also move 2 spaces into whatever this is over here. That way we're right in front of his deck leader. I'm not worried, I'll be able to turn this around just fine. I have a lot more life points than he does, that's for sure. Yeah, a lot of times the deck leader, in an attempt to preserve itself, will run over cards that they have set there to kind of get them out of the way so they can escape. But he failed to put a monster in between himself and me, so I don't know what he fused together or what that could have been. I don't know what that is. Interesting. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and go for game then. there's anything else I failed to explain, or some things that are just not relevant yet, I'll go into them whenever they are relevant. There's definitely some features I'm not going to be able to talk about until we get to see them on screen, so we'll go into that when it's relevant. Last thing here is going to be the slot machines that you play at the end. The face buttons allow you to select a card from the graveyard that your opponent played, and you get to win that and keep it permanently. So I'm hoping to get a legendary sword here because I need more power-ups for this deck. And power-ups are pretty low deck cost too. They definitely help make stronger monsters without clogging up your deck with ones that are inherently powerful. So let's see what we get here. I did not get anything I want. Oh well, that's all for the tutorial, guys.